Hello. Hope you're enjoying your long Thanksgiving weekend. We're so thankful that you're with us today. This is Only in Illinois, your weekly video recap from Reboot Illinois. Madeline Dubeck here with Matt Dietrich. And one of the things that started to bubble to the surface again in last week's fall veto session is lots of talk about schools in Illinois and the job we're doing at educating our children. There's been a move for quite some time now, past the Senate actually in the spring, to readjust the school funding formula in Illinois. And there was a hearing last week on that in the by a House committee.
Right.
And so this is one of those topics that brings out the worst in the geographic divide in Illinois, city versus suburbs versus downstate. And we seem to see that developing again in the rhetoric that we've been hearing.
Right. And it's all based in the way that schools are funded in Illinois, which is a formula that relies very, very heavily on property taxes. And state government in Illinois has one of the lowest rates of state funding for its school districts. And you have, the reason this becomes so contentious is you have a lot of, typically these are districts in the Chicago suburbs, very affluent areas, some of the best schools in the country, by the way, where the per pupil spending is in, the 5 digits, $10,000, $20,000 per student.
Because it's supported by property taxes.
Because it's supported by property taxes, because you have extremely valuable property and it brings in a lot of tax revenue. The problem is you have a lot of other areas in the state where property values are very, very low. And they could raise their property tax rates very high, but because home values are very low there, they still can't collect enough property tax revenue to get to an adequate per pupil spending ratio.
And one of the things we've also learned this week is that there's now a preponderance of low-income students.
Correct.
In the state of Illinois.
Yeah, and Advance Illinois last week came out with its biennial report for 2014, which is called The State We're In.
Advance Illinois, if you're not familiar, is a nonpartisan education reform group.
Right, and their goal is they want to make sure that students in Illinois are being adequately prepared for college and for life beyond school. So they measure academic performance of students. And they did find a few areas over the past 2 years since their last report where there's been some improvement. City of Chicago graduation rates have gone up. Some of the reading proficiency
graduation
scores.
rates and the measurement they used to say, are the kids really ready for college?
Right.
In Chicago has gone up.
But one major problem that Advance Illinois found was that Illinois is failing its low-income students very badly. And where you had, we're not doing all that well in general. When you look at 4th grade and 8th grade math and reading, you're finding that about 1/3 of the students are reading at established proficiency benchmarks or performing math according to established standards. But when you look at low-income students, it goes down into the teens, very low.
Exactly, and we've lost we used to be a leader in early childhood education, and we've lost any sort of progress we've had in getting more preschoolers enrolled and into those programs, which is,
we started
affects you for the rest of your life.
In 2007, Illinois established one of the most aggressive preschool for all programs in the nation, and we were a big leader. And the problem is, since our financial problems at the state level became so acute, money has fallen away from that, attendance has declined, the school districts can't offer it, and this gets back again to the school funding.
Absolutely, all tied together, and that's really one of the founding, all of these problems are tied together. One affects the other, affects the other, affects the other, and they're the key things that we committed to focus on when we founded Reboot Illinois 2 years ago. So it looks like this is going to be something that really gets continued conversation and debate in the years ahead, and Lots of people in the suburbs are mobilizing to oppose these changes. Others downstate in the city of Chicago are mobilizing to support them. And the key question that we've always asked is whether the quality of your education should depend on what your zip code happens to be. So that's something we'll be addressing with this debate in the months ahead.
January 12th, we're going to have a new governor, we're going to have a new General Assembly, we'll have some new attitudes. I think this is when this discussion can really start again. It got a good head start over the last couple of weeks.
And we should point out that Senate Bill 16, which is the school funding reform bill that we've been discussing, does gradually, over a 4-year period, take the money away from the wealthier districts and give it to the poorer districts. So there's an attempt being made to not shock everybody's systems. So something we'll devote a lot more attention to as we get into the new year.
And I'd encourage anyone who's watching this to go to our website, rebootillinois.com. Take a look at an infographic that we did that sort of highlights the big points that are in the Advance Illinois report. It's not real encouraging. It's encouraging because there's a few improvements, but overall, you know, we're really not doing what we need to do with our kids, especially at the youngest levels.
Exactly. All right. That's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next edition of Only in Illinois.